All right, I will say, let us begin. So we left off yesterday. Where did we leave off? 2 dots halfway down. Vayicha Moshe?
Yep.
Beautiful. So let's begin. Vayicha Moshe es Pnei Hashem. So remember again, so now, I'm purposely going to not define this word right now because the Gemara is going to define it itself. What does it mean, Vayicha Moshe es Pnei Hashem? Amr Belazar Melamed She'amad Moshe b'tefillah lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Belazar says Moshe Rabbeinu stood in prayer before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ad shehechluhu. Until ultimately, and Rashi understands, hechluhu literally means to Moshe Rabbeinu pestered HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He pestered him. In other words, that Moshe Rabbeinu did not stop until ultimately, again, he got what he wanted, which was, just context again. Remember, this is sin of the golden calf. So all of this is our same topic as we saw before, which is Klal Yisrael went ahead and sinned. Moshe Rabbeinu is advocating for their forgiveness. So here it's saying that Moshe Rabbeinu did not let up. He didn't let up until ultimately, again, he got what he wanted. So Amarava says, Ad shehefer lo nidro. That again, Moshe Rabbeinu continued to daven until HaKadosh Baruch Hu annulled his vow. What was God's vow? God essentially promised that He's going to destroy Klal Yisrael. So Moshe Rabbeinu keeps davening until Kadosh Baruch Hu annulled his vow. Ksiv hacha vayachal, ksiv hasam lo yachal dvaro. V'amar mar, hu eino mechol, aval achirim mocholin lo. Okay, Shmuel says, Melamed shemasar atzmo lemisa aleim. It's incredible. Shmuel says Moshe Rabbeinu was literally ready to give himself over to death for Klal Yisrael. He was so committed to attaining forgiveness for Klal Yisrael that whatever the collateral damage would have been for him, he was ready to suffer that. As Moshe Rabbeinu literally says, if you don't forgive Klal Yisrael, erase me from your sefer. If you're not willing to forgive me, erase me from your sefer. Amar Rava, Amar Rav Yitzchak, Melamed shehechla aleihem midas rachamim. So Rav Rava is saying to Rav Yitzchak, it teaches us that ultimately, again, Moshe Rabbeinu caused the midah of rachamim, literally, again, the attribute of divine compassion, to devolve upon Klal Yisrael. Rabbana Amri, Melamed shara Moshe Ethne HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel Olam, Chulin hu locha, me'asos kadavar hazeh. Others say it's actually very powerful, that Vayichal is Moshe Rabbeinu saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayichal is like lashon of Chulin, mundane. It would be mundane for you to do something like this. What's the like this? To destroy Klal Yisrael. It's like, can you imagine this? And Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's like beneath you. It's like beneath you. You know how like sometimes, as sometimes when children get older and the parent wants to express disappointment in something, which is important, that type of feedback, good, positive, constructive, but necessary feedback, sometimes, and I'm sure, I don't know, at least I think many of us have heard this as children from our parents, like, what you did, it's beneath you. It's beneath We'll talk about it later. You're better than that. You're better than that. Like, it's beneath you. And I will say, the truth is, the funny part is, a phrase like that, it's more stinging than anything, right? In other words, it's worth thinking, and it can be said in the softest voice, because 9.9 out of 10 times, it's true. It is beneath me. Like, I am actually better than that. So can you imagine? Moshe Rabbeinu is saying this to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't try this, right? Don't try this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it would be beneath you. But again, I just want to point out, I mentioned this in last night's shir, but I just want to repeat it again. So much of what we learn from these Gemaras is leadership. The greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu is that he saw his sole responsibility as the leader and defender of Klal Yisrael. And as the leader and defender of Klal Yisrael, he would say whatever he had to say in order to get the job done. It's really incredible. So the Gemara goes weiter. Vayichal Moshe es Pnei Hashem. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol Omer, Melamed she'amar Moshe b'tefillah lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ad she'achzaso achilo. So Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol says, Moshe Rabbeinu literally again stood in prayer until he was seized by achilu. What's achilu? My achilu. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, eish shel atzamos. Literally again, fire of the bones. So we'll say, B'pashtus, it's a fever. It's a fever of some sort. Moshe Rabbeinu literally davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu until he got sick. So the Gemara goes like, Amar Abaye, Ashasa degarmi. Okay, fire of the bones. Fine. Zachar li Avraham li Yitzchak li Yisrael avadecha. So remember again, this is all Moshe Rabbeinu davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Remember, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yisrael, and Yaakov, your servants, Asher nishbata lahem bach. Now, this is interesting, that you swore to them, bach. Now, how do you translate the word bach? So the Gemara says, my bach. What does it mean, bach? Bach means like in it. What do you mean in it? So Amar Belazar, Amar Moshe Rabbeinu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, El Mali Nishpata Lahem B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz. You know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, had you sworn to Klal Yisrael, and you would have sworn by the heavens and the earth that you were going to redeem them, that you were going to make them into a people, bring them to Eretz Yisrael, then I would have said, Hayisi Omer, Keshem Sheshamayim Va'aretz B'Telim, Kach Shavuascha B'Tela. So I would have said, look, God, you know what? If you would have sworn by the heaven and the earth, I would have said like this. The heaven and the earth, Rabosai, they won't exist for all eternity. So what does Baruch Hu? Then you have an out. You have an out from your Shavua because you swore by something that has a finite life. So I would say, okay, therefore at some point in time, your Shavua, so to speak, your oath, your commitment to Klal Yisrael would expire. Baruch Hu, you swore to the people by your own name. You swore to Klal Yisrael to love them, to take care of them, to nurture them, to see them through to their destiny. And you swore by your name. Just like your name, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, endures for all eternity. So to the oath and the promise you make to Klal Yisrael also endures for all eternity. And I will say, sometimes, there are certain things that we know in life is true, but we don't necessarily contemplate them. The notion that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is eternal is such an incredible idea. I don't know if I mentioned this once. A number of years ago, we used to go on vacation to New Hampshire in the White Mountains. Beautiful. I remember the first summer that we were there. The mountains are just gorgeous. And I remember we were the river. There's the Pemigewasset River runs through the area there. And I remember we were driving through, and you see the mountains, and you realize something amazing. That mountain was here long before me. And that mountain is going to be here long after me. And it was such a humbling experience. We go through life and we're like, everything is about me. Everything is about what I need, what I want. And then you kind of go out just into nature and you realize that, wow, I'm such a very small piece in this entire universal tapestry. And that's a mountain. And a mountain itself is not even eternal. The notion of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Ribono Shel Olam, of an entity that is eternal. And the incredible part is you can't have much of a relationship with a mountain, right? But Lamaisa, there is such an ability to have a profound relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if somebody were to ask you, can you have a relationship with something eternal? I would venture to say the answer to that is no, because I'm not eternal. So I could ask, but yet the answer is a resounding yes. What does it mean to have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? It means to invest in something that is eternal. Most incredible idea. All right, the Gemara goes weiter. V'atidaber aleim arbe zarachim kichochvei hashamayim v'chol haaretz hazos asher amarti. So this is all part of the same. Remember, this is all part of Moshe Rabbeinu's, I don't want to use the word argument, but we'll call it argument to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You spoke to the Avos, you spoke to the patriarchs, to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and you said to them, I will make your offspring great, like the stars of the sky, right? And this entire land, Eretz Yisrael, Asher Amarti, that I have said. Shabbos says, this is interesting. So the Gemara says, Hi Asher Amarti, Asher Amarta. In other words, Asher Amarti means I said, which is Moshe Rabbeinu talking about that he's talking. But it shouldn't say Asher Amarti that I said. Rather, what should it say? Asher Amarta, that you said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what's going on over here? Amar Belazar, this is incredible. Ad kan divrei Talmud. It's interesting because apparently in the middle of this pasuk started with Moshe Rabbeinu talking. Mikam ve'elech divrei harav. And after that, ultimately again, it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu was talking. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar Elu v'Elu divrei Talmud. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani says, no, both of them ultimately again were the words of Moshe Rabbeinu. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu say? Alakach Amar Moshe Rabbeinu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ribono Shel Olam. Listen, this was so profound. Dvarim she'amarti li lech amar lehem liyisrael b'shmi halachti va'amarti lehem b'shimcha. So Moshe Rabbeinu says to the guys, this is incredible. Moshe Rabbeinu says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you asked me to relay a whole series of messages to Klal Yisrael. This is starting right in the beginning of Sefer Shmos. You've asked me to relay a whole bunch of messages about redemption, salvation, destiny. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I did everything. I gave over all of that in your name. Achshav, mani omer lahem. What should I say to them now? Remember again, now Kadosh Baruch Hu, you stand ready to destroy them. So what should I say? This whole time I was giving them all of your beautiful messages of hope, of possibility, of salvation. And now you want me, and I will say, like sometimes, something has to get said to someone. So somebody will come over to you and go, you should really go tell that person this thing. You're like, no, I'm not telling you. If you have something to say, you tell them. I'm not going to be the messenger for the best. Moshe Rabbeinu says, all this time, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I was your messenger to deliver these messages of hope. Now you want to destroy them? I'm not saying it. If you want to tell them, you tell them. I'm not saying it. Incredible. So the Gemara goes weiter. Mibilti yecholas Hashem. So the pasuk says, remember again, there are two parts to Moshe Rabbeinu's argument in the aftermath of the sin of the golden calf. Part one is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you made a promise to the Avos, to the patriarchs. That's part one. Part two, Abosai, is the Chil Hashem piece. Chil Hashem meaning what? The nations of the world are going to say, God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, doesn't have enough power. Why did he destroy the Jewish people in the desert? Because he didn't have enough power to bring them into the land of Israel. That's why he destroyed them in the desert. So Moshe Rabbeinu plays like the Chil Hashem is going to be a desecration of your name if you kill out Klal Yisrael. So the Gemara says, Milvoti Yecholes Hashem, Yochol Hashem Ibayle. Why does it say Yecholes? It should say Yochol. So Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Moshe Levnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam. Achshav Yomru Umos Ha'olam Tashash Kocho Kinekeva Ve'eno Yochol Lahatzil. This is incredible. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Kadosh Baruch Hu, you know what the nations of the world are going to say about you? That you're a woman. Right? That you're weak like a woman. Weak like a woman. Now again, okay, yeah. No, there was this. I just saw this news. I didn't see the whole story, but there was this. Whatever. It's not important now. This boxer. Whatever. Okay. Anyway, so fine. So the Gemara says as follows. We're not going to get into it. Not for a base medrash. So the Gemara says as follows. So in other words, that what Moshe Rabbeinu said, they're going to say that you're weak. They're going to say that in other words. So let me just give you, by the way, why does the Gemara say like a woman? So you have to understand something. The medrash says that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu appeared to Klal Yisrael at different points, he looked different. So by the Yam Suf, by the splitting of the sea, Klal Yisrael saw some image, some representation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what was the image? HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked like a young, valiant warrior. Right? At Har Sinai, the Medrash says the image, whatever this means, image, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have any physical form, but the image somehow that they took was like a wizened old man. So this idea that Moshe Rabbeinu says, like the image that's seared into their mind is that you are a powerful, young, vicious warrior who could do anything. Now, what are people going to say? Obviously, it's a little old lady now that he is. He's not a vicious warrior. Your God doesn't have power. He was able to get you out of Egypt, but he can't take you any further. So the Gemara says, Amar Chadosh Baruch Hu Moshe, V'alo kvar ra'u nisim ugvuros sha'asisi lahem al hayam. So Chadosh Baruch Hu almost like Yiviyachal says, come on, that's not fair. That's not fair. Like, don't call me a little old lady, right? After all, again, I took the Jewish people out of Egypt. I split the sea. I did a lot of really powerful stuff. So Moshe Rabbeinu, you know what they're going to say? You could defeat one king. You could defeat Pharaoh. But remember again, in Canaan, there were 31 kings. So you could stand up to one king. You can't stand up to 31 kings. So the Gemara says, how do we know that ultimately, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed, so to speak, like he gave in to Moshe Rabbeinu's argument? Shenemar, Vayomer Hashem, salachti kidvarecha. Hashem says, I have forgiven them as per your words. So in other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't just say, I forgive them. Rather, it's Moshe Rabbeinu, you've convinced me. You've convinced me. Tanad Be'Rabbi Shmuel, kidvarecha sidim umos on lomer kain. Ashrei Talmid Sherabo Modelo. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying, Moshe Rabbeinu, what they're going to say about you is praiseworthy is the student whose Rebbe, whose teacher agrees with him. So Moshe Rabbeinu lodged these arguments, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, agreed with him. So we'll say, so The Gemara says, "Ulam chayani Hashem." So, and Chaburah says, literally again, but. Ulam means but. Chayani Hashem. Literally again, I am the living God. Amar Rava, Amrav Yitzchak, Melamei Chaburah HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, Hechi Yisani bidvarecha. Moshe Rabbeinu, you brought me back to life with your words. So, Moshe, let's talk about this for just a moment, right? These seem like very strange Gemaras, right? Moshe Rabbeinu was having these arguments with God. Kadosh Baruch Hu, they're going to tell you that they're going to say you're a little girl. Then they're going to say, you're a little girl, a little old lady, come on, stand up for yourself, man up. And Kadosh Baruch Hu says, yeah, you know what, you're right. No, but I did this. What's going on? So you have to understand something. So this entire story of the sin of the golden calf, right? Just think about it just a moment. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't change his mind. This is very important, right? Changing of a mind is something that we have because we don't see a full picture, we don't possess all knowledge. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's omniscient, omnipotent, doesn't change his mind, he knows everything. So we have the ability to change realities by changing ourselves. The mashal I often give to this is like this. If you earn a salary, and let's say in year number one you earn $75,000. So you're in a certain tax bracket. Let's say Kanai Harabaksh, the next year you earn $200,000. So we'll say the tax laws haven't changed, right? The tax laws are the same, right?
If you say so.
I'm saying that's the truth. The tax laws haven't changed. I'm like speaking in front of the Rebbe over here, right? Right? The tax laws haven't changed. What's changed? My salary or my personal circumstances. So the constructs are the same. I'm different. The way it works in the world is HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a plan. The difference just is what plan I fit into depends on what level I'm at. So if I'm over here, there's a certain plan. I raise myself up to here, there's a different plan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not changing his mind. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't change his mind. But Lahavdu Elef Alfei Rivi Avdalos, HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the IRS, right, have this same construct. The construct is the same. What changes are your personal circumstances. So this is very important to understand in general when you see these kind of stories. God is not changing his mind. What's happening is Moshe Rabbeinu, through his advocacy, is able to change the status of the people. And he's able to raise them up above a decree that would have been leveled against them were they to remain down here. That's number one. Rav Shamshon of Hirsch says something different. Rav Shamshon of Hirsch says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was never going to destroy Klal Yisrael. He was never going to destroy them, right? After the sin of the golden calf, after the spies, so why go through this whole exercise? Rav Hirsch explains so beautifully that all of this was done to allow Moshe Rabbeinu to self-actualize as a leader. Moshe Rabbeinu had to be placed in a situation where the imminent demise of his beloved flock, or I should say, the demise of his beloved flock was imminent. And this was his avoda as a leader. Will you advocate for them? Will you place your own head, so to speak, on the chopping block for them? Will you put yourself on that? Will you push even the buttons of the divine to get what you want? Rav Hirsch says this entire thing was to allow Moshe Rabbeinu to self-actualize as a leader. Again, so I'll say tremendous lesson in leadership, but also very important to understand how these things work. The Ribono Shel Olam's plan is solid, and it's good, and it's beautiful, and it doesn't change. What we have the ability to do is to change ourselves as individuals and as a collective, and thereby merit a different type of judgment, a different type of narrative, and a different type of destiny. All right, we'll say, what a Gemara. Shkoyach, everyone.